Have you ever felt just completely swept off your feet? Like someone's affection is overwhelming, almost too much. But then later you start to feel like maybe that intensity, it wasn't real affection. Maybe it was more about control. Today we're doing a deep dive into exactly that. Love bombing. It's more than just a buzzword. It's a really fascinating but also kind of unsettling dark psychology tactic. Basically using affection as a weapon, hidden in plain sight.
Yeah, and our mission today really is to pull back the curtain on this seductive trap. We want to help you understand how it works, beneath the surface, unpack its mechanisms, and most importantly, I think, give you the insights to, well, protect yourself and navigate relationships with clarity, with confidence.
Right. And we've looked at some really compelling sources for this deep dive, psychological studies, historical stuff too. We're going to unpack what love bombing actually is. Why it's so scary effective sometimes, and how it unfolds, the stages, and crucially, what you can do, how to spot the red flags and, reclaim your power. So think about it for a second as we get started. Have you ever felt that intense rush of affection, maybe even felt a tiny bit suspicious, even though it felt amazing? Just hold that thought. So in this whole area of dark psychology, where people manipulate for power, love bombing is kind of a masterstroke, isn't it? It's using this overwhelming affection to get control. So what is it, like at its absolute core?
Well, it's essentially manipulation disguised as hyperaffection. It's like a fast-acting emotional drug, really, designed to bypass your logical thinking and just leave you wanting more. On the surface, yeah, it looks like someone's showering you with nonstop attention, gifts, praise. Think, constant texts, really lavish dates saying, I love you or you're my soulmate after, days or even hours. And what's really wild is where it comes from, this tactic. It actually originated with cult recruitment back in the 70s. That history alone tells you just how powerful it can be at drawing people in.
Wow. Yeah, that parallel to cults is pretty stark. And it really does feel like a dream at first, doesn't it? That initial rush is so potent. So what's happening in our brains that makes us fall for it?
It's designed to trigger these massive dopamine hits, the feel-good chemical. And that creates an incredibly rapid bond. Psychologists, they even call this love addiction. Your brain literally gets kind of rewired to crave more of that intense feeling, that positive feedback. And it's not random. It's strategic. It's engineered to lower your guard before you even know what's happening. And, the data backs this up. There was a study, I think last year, 2023, it found that something like 35% of people in toxic relationships said they experienced love bombing early on. And they often mistook it. They thought it was genuine care. It highlights that illusion perfectly.
35%?
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot. It really shows how common this is and how easy it is to misread the signs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so after that initial, charm offensive, that overwhelming start, how does the dynamic shift? Because it doesn't stay that way, right? It's not just this intense, beautiful beginning forever.
Exactly. No, that's when the manipulation really starts to unfold. It happens in stages. That first stage, that flood of affection we talked about, that's phase 1. The overwhelming charm offensive. It literally starts with just a deluge of attention. Like we said, calling you their soulmate after one date, maybe sending flowers every single day, or planning your whole future together when you barely know each other. And that rush feels amazing precisely because it triggers those dopamine hits, right? It bonds you super fast, and it's all designed to lower your defenses. Yeah. And yeah, like we mentioned, those cults, the Moonies, for example, they used this exact tactic back in the 70s. It just proves how effective it is at creating that immediate, intense bond.
Right. So after that high, that intoxicating feeling, what happens next? What's the shift?
This is often where things start to feel a bit off. That dreamlike feeling starts to curdle just subtly at first. This is phase 2. The shift to control. That intense affection starts feeling less like love and that more like a leash. The love bomber might suddenly get really demanding of your time, or they might guilt trip you if you try to set a boundary, even a small one. A really common thing is they try to isolate you, cut you off from friends, family, using lines like, "Why do you need to see them? You have me now," or "They don't really support us." And the affection they used initially, it becomes a tool, a way to control you, often justified with these really manipulative phrases like, "I only get upset because I love you so much," or "I'm just trying to protect you." It flips the script completely, makes you feel like you're the ungrateful one. And if you look at the psychology, a 2024 study actually linked this phase directly to narcissistic traits. It shows that for these individuals, control is really the goal. It fundamentally trumps genuine care.
That's a really chilling way to put it. That the love wasn't for you. It was for the control of you. Okay, so after that, that confusion, that push and pull. Victims often end up in what you called phase 3, the emotional roller coaster. This sounds like where the real damage happens.
Oh, absolutely. This phase is just, it's intense emotional whiplash. After the high, after the control starts creeping in, there's often this sudden coldness or criticism, or they just withdraw completely, especially if you don't do what they want. And this cycle, this push-pull, it's devastating. It keeps the victim constantly chasing that initial feeling, chasing approval, and it just erodes their self-worth bit by bit. There was a survey, I think 2022, found victims often report high anxiety, depression, and get this, 50% felt trapped in these cycles long term, half of them. And just when you might think, okay, I need to get out, the manipulator often throws in just enough charm again, or maybe a really convincing apology, just enough to reel you back in. It perpetuates the trap. It's incredibly damaging.
It sounds exhausting. And yeah, it's easy maybe looking back to see the pattern, but when you're in it, in that intense glow, how do you even start to question it? So, okay, knowing all this, what does this mean for you listening right now? How can you actually protect yourself?
Well, like you said, awareness is the first step. It really is your first shield. When it comes to spotting the red flags, you need to look for those gestures that are just over the top, especially early on. The constant calls, the excessive gifts, those really intense I love yous that just feel way too soon. There was a Psychology Today piece last year that made a really good point. These grand gestures often lack real depth, unlike genuine affection, which tends to build slowly, steadily over time. The key is you have to trust your instincts. If something feels too good to be true, or just off, listen to that feeling. And practically speaking, if you are feeling unsure, maybe keeping a quiet log of interactions can actually help you see patterns over time, things you might otherwise just brush off or forget.
That's really practical. Yeah, and it sounds like setting boundaries, firm boundaries, is absolutely vital here, especially when things start to shift towards control.
Oh, absolutely critical. And you need to be ready to state them clearly. It can be simple things like, hey, I need some space to think, or, I'd prefer we slow things down a bit. And here's a really crucial bit of advice. Do not get drawn into justifying your boundaries to the love bomber. Don't explain endlessly. They often thrive on that because it gives them more ammo to argue or manipulate. Just state your need. And if you're dealing with this, please reach out for support. Talk to trusted friends, family, or consider a therapist. The National Domestic Violence Hotline, for instance, they say something like 70% of victims really start to regain clarity once they get an outside perspective. It helps so much. And remember, always remember this. You are never obligated to match someone else's intensity if it feels overwhelming or just wrong to you. You don't owe them that.
Right. That's so important. Okay, and then the final step, maybe the most empowering one, reclaiming your power. For anyone who feels like they might be caught in this or maybe recovering from it, what are the actual steps to break free?
Well, the first step, and it's often the hardest, is creating distance. Sometimes that means cutting contact completely, at least for a while. It can be necessary for clarity. And after that, the focus really needs to shift inward, towards self-love, towards rebuilding yourself. This looks different for everyone, right? It could be journaling, getting back into hobbies you dropped, maybe using affirmations like, I deserve healthy, respectful love. And it works. It truly does. There was another study, 2024, found that 45% of people recovering from these situations rebuilt significant confidence in just about 2 months. But it takes consistent self-care. It's really about taking that time to reconnect with yourself, to think about what you actually value in a relationship, what real love and partnership look like to you, not just what someone else is trying to project onto you, So look, love bombing. Yeah, it's a dark art. It's designed to track you, to control. But you absolutely have the power to see through it, to understand how it works, spot the patterns, and ultimately protect your peace, protect your heart.
That's really hopeful. So just take a moment and picture it. A life where love genuinely lifts you up, where it feels, safe, like a soft landing, not that dizzying, dangerous climb. Imagine relationships built on real trust, mutual respect, genuine connection, free from manipulation, with maybe one small thing, one intentional step you could take today, just one step towards reclaiming that kind of clarity and peace in your own relationships.